Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to give you a complete bench tour. You'll see all the trees that I have on the go. It's a nice quiet day today, so I'm going to start the bench tour on this end of the bonsai zone with my Douglas firs here. So I have 3 Douglas firs here. They were all repotted this year. I separated them from the one large pot into individual pots, and they've all done quite well. You can see all the buds forming on them for next year. This is my oldest, kind of roughest looking one. It's got beautiful bark. So I haven't done much styling work at all on these trees yet. They've just kind of been recovering, getting used to growing here in Ontario. So that'll be coming in the future as they develop more and more vigor. Over here on this bench I have my bougainvillea, the one with the white flowers. It needs repotting. I hope to get to that soon. Here's my money tree. It's doing quite well. It's got 3 branches on it. Here's my Ficus religiosa, sort of the medium-sized one. It's doing quite well, looking nice and healthy. Behind that are my Natal plums that were cuttings given to me by Hong long ago. Slow-growing plants, but they're doing well. Here's my Christmas cactus, the old one. It's doing quite well too. And behind that is my dragon trees. These were grown from a seed and they're doing quite well too. A lot of this rusty color on them is from the winter time when they were transitioning to outdoors. They still have those leaves. On this bench I have my asparagus fern. It's growing well, nice and green and healthy. Here is my saberleaf ficus. It's looking good, it's growing well. And here is my boxwood forest. A lot of weeds in there, but I'm not doing too much work to that. I'm just letting it grow this year. Beside that is my apple tree. So I haven't done any pruning to this year. I'm just letting it grow, and I'm hoping to get flowers on it someday. It's never flowered for me. So this year I'm just letting it grow, and I'll see if next year, next spring, I get flowers on it. Behind that is my hibiscus, the one with the yellow flowers. It's doing well. It's got flower buds all over it. And here is the whipcord cedar. It's growing slowly. I repotted that this year. It's doing quite well. And between those is my oak, my bur oak, the one that gets the really rough bark. And you can see it's growing really nicely too. So you can see, you know, the leaves are large here, but they do reduce quite nicely with time and ramification. Yeah, so that's it for that bench. Over on this bench I have my Arakawa maples, my rough bark Japanese maples. I've already pruned them once this year, and you can see they're growing really nice. The trunks are still kind of green, but they're starting to turn a bit of a gray color at the bottom, and the color is fading, so eventually they'll get a nice rough bark on them. Beside that is my Sarissa. It continues to flower. It's looking good. It's growing really nice. You can see the canopies filling in really well, actually. So I'll have to separate the branches a bit to get a bit of negative space in the canopy. So that'll come. The development of it is going quite well. It's looking good. I'm very happy with it. Here's the new Dwarf Hinoki Cypress that Matt gave me just recently. It's looking good. Over here is the Montpellier maple. It's doing all right. And behind that is the field maple seedlings. They're growing quite well, actually. I haven't pruned them this year. They still have a little rough looking. We had some really hot spells, really cold spells, really hot spells, and it's been a little tough on the maples. Beside that is my Dwarf Schefflera, the Banyan style. It's growing really well, so I'm growing this out. So I'm not going to prune it this year at all. I'll let it grow over the winter and possibly the next year also. So eventually it'll be huge, and then I'll prune it all back, make it more compact. Behind that is my red maple penjing. I had this in the London show this year, and it's looking really good. Leaves are looking quite healthy on it. Yeah, it's doing well. And over here is my giant sequoia forest. And I was trying to keep up pinching the tips on it, and it just kept growing. It's unbelievable how fast these things grow. So I kind of, I thought, well, I'll just let it grow for a bit, and then I'll give it the prune with the blue scissors. So that'll be coming up. Over here are the emerald green cedars that Matt gave me. There's 3 of them in this planting. I pruned them up, making them as compact as possible, and they're looking really healthy and growing nice. Beside that is my, what do they call it? A coastal hibiscus, I think. There's 2 of them in here, and they're growing really well. Lots of new growth on them. They look really healthy, and they got cut back pretty hard. So this is all new growth on them. Behind that is my catalpa tree. It's looking really, really good. It's doing well. Trunk's thickening up. It's, yeah, doing quite well. Beside that is a tree, I don't know what it is. It's growing really well. It could be an apple, a crab apple or something. I'm not really sure. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Beside that is my European buckthorn, my smaller one. So this one has done really well this year. I protected it in the greenhouse over winter. It came out in spring, and I've pruned it a couple of times now. So it's doing really well, and I hope my large European buckthorn next year has the same kind of vigor. I think it will. Beside that is my downy willow, and you can see it's really growing. I've already pruned that once. Behind that is my Douglas fir, the sort of formal upright one, and it's growing with a ton of vigor. It's amazing. Behind that is my chickapin oak, native oak. It's looking really, really good, doing well. And then in this pot I have a collection of Dwarf Hinoki Cypress, birch. I think that's it. And they're doing well also. So now we'll head into the greenhouse. Directly in front of us is the Ficus microcarpa that I just worked on. Repotted, defoliated it, pruned it up. So it's, hopefully, you know, by the end of summer it'll look quite nice. Over in this corner I have my jade cutting that I got from Hong many years ago. It's looking really good. Beside that is my Ficus microcarpa, the one I call Fancy, and it's doing really nice. It's growing with a ton of vigor, so that'll get pruned before it comes in for the winter. I've got a Natal Ficus cutting down here that's doing well. It's rooted. Behind that is my killer euphorbia, the one they call killer. It's growing well. And then my copper spoons, can I say this? Kanachi? I can't say it. Sounds like cannoli. Yeah, it's doing really well. I pruned that twice now, and it's ramifying and doing well. And here is my Taprom Temple planting, looking really good. And that's a mix of Natal Ficus out front here and Bert Davii Ficus off to the side. Yeah, really happy with that. It's doing well. Behind that I have a few of my little tiny trees my parrot's beak Melina, and 2 Ficus microcarpas growing in small pots. Here's that cutting I took off my Sarissa, and it's growing well. I have some aloes here, a what do you call that, orchid. That's an orchid that was given to me. Here's my Burt Devii ficus, the one I got off of Joey, and I'm restyling it to make it into a flat top kind of broom style tree. It's doing well. I have a little Ficus religiosa, my small one here, looking really healthy and growing well. Behind that I have my Ficus Fancy, the one that I'm restoring. I've recently pruned the top and it's starting to fill in. I just need some growth out front here, and it'll look really good in the future, I hope. Beside my Ficus benjamina, or Frankenficus, I have my root over temple, my first one I made, Ficus benjamina too. That was recently pruned back and it's just starting to come. New leaves are forming on it now, so it's coming. It's had quite a structural prune, so it'll in the recovering phase. Behind that is my kapok or kapok trees. I pruned those recently and there's new buds coming out all over them and some new leaves. So it'll get quite bushy, I think. It's looking good. I'm really happy with them. And then I have my Chinese village penjing here. The trees are really growing now, look really healthy. It's doing really well. I added some little birds in there. Yeah, very happy with it. On the floor of the greenhouse here, I have my largest Baobab or Baobab tree. And the exciting thing about this is the scientific name for it is what is it now? Oh, I'm drawing a blank. Addissonia digitata. I think I said that right. And digitata means like a hand, 5. And when they first start growing, they have like one leaf, it's kind of staggered. And then it started growing clusters of 3 leaves. And now it's growing clusters of 5 leaves. So the true leaves are coming out now, which is really cool. And you can see how much green foliage there is on it. I'm having to water it twice a day now on sunny days. And it's just growing with a ton of vigor. Behind that is my Vietnam style Ficus microcarpa, or ginseng ficus. It's looking really good. It's starting to grow in again after its last pruning. Behind that is my tiger bark ficus, the one that was the trunk of an air layer, and it's looking really good. It's really healthy, lots of foliage on it. I've got 2 new desert rose that were given to me, a big fat one here and a little one over here, and they're both doing really well. So I'm gonna try not to kill them this winter. I'll keep them dry, a little cooler. Here is my Premna. It's growing pretty well. I just noticed some of the leaves have a bit of mildew on them. I don't know if that's just old leaves, or maybe I'll have to give that a spray with soap and water. The other 2 baobabs, they're starting to reach the roof of the greenhouse here, so they're growing really well. I had to move the big one on the floor because it was hitting the ceiling here. It's getting really big. I've got 2 little ficus here. These were cuttings off of a ginseng ficus, so I think this is like a Green Island ficus or a Green Mound ficus that was grafted on the top of them. So these cuttings are just pure Green Island ficus cuttings. They're doing really well. Besides that is my yucca forest. I repotted this recently and it's starting to grow now with a lot of vigor. So that's kind of exciting. Behind that is my jade, which I know is pretty hard to see in here, but it's doing well, doing really well. Here is my bloodwood or logwood tree. It's got new growth coming out. You can see the kind of light colored, almost reddish growth on it. Some of the older leaves are turning yellow and falling off, but it's really healthy and doing well. Here is my bougainvillea, the little one that I pruned up recently, and it's starting to grow back in again. It's looking good. And I've got my cashew trees. I hard pruned the one. There's no signs of life on it yet, but I'm hoping in the future. And the little one's doing quite well. Here is my wild almond trees. They're growing really like tall and whippy, so I can prune those back soon. Behind that is my dragon style Schefflera, Dwarf Schefflera. It's doing really well. Lots of strong growth on it. It looks nice and healthy. Beside that is my hibiscus, my old hibiscus. The leaves are a little yellowy on it, and I think it's from the heat in the greenhouse here. It keeps trying to flower, and I just keep picking the flowers off. Here's a flower bud here that I'll pick off. Yeah, so I think once the cooler weather comes, this will do better. It should be outside, actually. I just never moved it out of the greenhouse. Behind that is my two little leaf ficus, my benjamina. I pruned that recently, and it's starting to get new leaves and branches on it now, so that's just starting to grow. I've got a jade forest, a little jade forest down there, doing well. My rubber trees in the small pot here are looking really good. Lots of aerial roots coming out of the pot. The leaves are staying quite small. As it grows, they get larger, but it'll need pruning soon. But you can see, you know, you can get the leaves down to the size of your finger with a bit of pruning. Behind that is my Brazilian rain tree. It's looking really good. It's doing quite well. Nice and healthy, filling in that canopy. Behind that is the cutting off of my Ficus benjamina, the Frankenficus, that it looks like it's rooted and doing well. So it's possible I could position that over top of the tree to create a new apex if I want. And there's my very first bonsai again. Keep my fingers crossed. I think it'll do really well. So that's it for the upper part of the greenhouse. So now let's go down below, down to the floor here. So here's my powder puff tree. And you can see the shoots are like super long on it. It was in flower, and then after the flowers fell off, it just started growing like with a ton of vigor. So that'll need pruning again fairly soon. Up front here is my bullhorn acacia, the one that gets these big, huge thorns on it. It's growing so well that it's grown up through the bench here on the greenhouse, and it's shooting up here and growing really well. So it's doing really well. Behind that is another medium leaf ficus that is also doing very well. Lots of vigor on it. Here is my Moreton Bay ficus, the first one I repotted. It's in the mesh basket. Lots of vigor on it, huge leaves, like absolutely huge. So I haven't really started the bonsai process on this pruning or anything. It's just been let to grow this year. I have the climbing ficus down here, like the ivy ficus, doing really well. I have a Natal ficus back here that was given to me. It's doing really well also. And then here I have my umbrella tree, the Schefflera with the large leaves. I showed that in a video recently. Looking really good. I have another Ficus microcarpa down here in a Vietnam style pot. It's doing well. Ficus benjamina of Zins here. This is the regular leaf size one. It's growing really well, needs pruning. And here's my olive tree. I hope the wind from the fan isn't getting in the way here. My olive tree, you can see how far the shoots have extended on that. It's survived the repotting, its first repotting, pruning. And I have my thuja cuttings, or not cuttings, but the ones I took out of the forest, and some of them died, and it's my fault because I left them sitting in water for like 3 weeks, and that wasn't good for them. So the ones that are growing are looking really good. Over on this side, I have my $50 challenge tree, and it doesn't look so good right now. These are the Mingarelias, and the reason is they didn't like all the rain we got. We got all this rain, and they're basically like a succulent. So I moved it out of the outside into the greenhouse here where I can control the watering, and you can see there's all kinds of green buds on the tip, so it'll fill out again soon. Here's my other Moreton Bay ficus, the more upright one. It's doing really well, large leaves, and I'm just letting that grow again this summer. Beside that is my Norfolk Island pine forest, looking really, really healthy. And there's a little fern growing underneath it. Very happy with that. I might even put that in a show this fall. It looks so nice, lush, looking good. And then I have my ficus cutting of a cutting here, and I'm just letting that grow. It's doing quite well. Some of the older leaves are turning yellow and falling off, but it's doing really well. And then in the corner back here, I have my banyan tree, my Ficus bengalensis. Lots of aerial roots coming off of it, and you know, I've done some clip and grow on it, so it's got quite a twisty trunk, and it looks really healthy and it's doing well. So that is the updates to the glass greenhouse. Let's keep moving on now. So I've got my birthday pine here, the Scots pine. I haven't done much with it this year. There's a lot of old needles that need pulling out here. They're turning yellow. I've just been watering it. I'm trying to grow the root system so I can eventually get it in a bonsai pot. The trouble with this tree, I think there's some roots growing in there. This tree is a slow growing tree, and I think it'll take a long time to get a good root system before I can put it in a bonsai pot. It may take several more years, in fact. But I'm in no rush. I'm just going to be patient, and when the tree's ready, it's ready. On the next bench, I have a Ficus religiosa, small one here in a pot by Isabella. Dwarf Hinoki Cypress cuttings that are doing well. My crimson hawthorn is looking good. That's been pruned. A Barbados cherry, a Natal plum cascade. My blue ash is looking good. A Natal ficus cutting. The 3 larch are looking good that I pruned up recently. My firethorn, I've got 2 of them here. They're both doing really well. My pomegranate, looking nice. Here's my bear in here, a cocaine bear, and there's a hemlock growing in that, and it's doing well. My ash tree I got from David, doing well. My fire and ice hibiscus is looking good. My Korean maple, starting to grow again. It's looking good. My cryptomeria from Matt is looking good. This is the cutting off of the auction ficus that's doing well. My forsythia, looking good. My mugo pine back here died. It didn't make it. I think I let it dry out the one day. My Volkswagen pending is doing well. I pruned that up recently. My New Zealand tea tree is looking good, growing with a ton of vigor. That'll need repotting and pruning soon. Some apple trees are doing really well here. Another Barbados cherry, the root over rock one, is looking good. American elm here, doing well. There's some accent plants back there, marsh marigolds. I don't know what these trees are. They're doing okay. My one edible fig, Ficus carica, leafed out very late this year, and the other one, no signs of life on that, so at least one survived. My liquid amber tree, this was looking beautiful until midsummer, and it decided it was fall. I think that'll grow well next year. It came out into leaf really early in the greenhouse, so I'm not going to protect it this year. I'll just let it leaf out later in the year. My cotoneaster is growing really well. My jackfruit doing very well. Behind that is my quince that I got from Connor. It's doing well. My flowering sticks are doing well. Red maple here is growing nice. I'm not sure what this one is. I think it's, not sure what it is. I've got a honey locust back here that's doing well. My graybark, Japanese graybark elm is doing well. I've got another maple here. I think it's a red maple. It's doing well. These are all my pawpaw trees. They're growing quite well. I mean, some of them are getting quite tall. This is their second year from seed, so can't expect too much. I got a fern here. Cue the music. French lilac hybrid did not make it this year. I root pruned it in spring, trying to perfect the root base, and I guess the tree was too weak, and it never came in to leaf. The buds swelled and then they just dried up. That was too bad. I'll replace it with another one. My American elm here, I haven't pruned it at all this year. I repotted it in spring and it's looking good and healthy. I've never really got strong growth on it ever since I dug it out of the ground. But, you know, good growth. You know, the extension and the length of my hand here. But never, you know, huge shoots sticking out of it. So I don't know if that'll come or not. I think they're just generally in a pot, they slow down. Here's my azalea down here. Doing all right. Red maple here. It's looking quite good. Another American elm back here. And then my European buckthorn, the big one. And again, it was repotted this spring. Its first really good root pruning. And it's doing well. I'm glad it made it. It hasn't grown with, you know, a ton of vigor, but it's certainly growing healthy. I think next year will be the year for it that I'll be able to do some styling on it. Over here on this bench, I've got my small leaf linden. That's growing really well. It's doing well. My corkbark oak from Philippe, doing well. My Pyrenean oak from David, Blue Sky Bonsai, is doing well. I've got a couple of birch here that grew okay this year, nothing really vigorous. I've got another fire and ice hibiscus here, Cascade from Zinn, that's doing well. Field maple here. This is my oldest field maple. It started out as a little seedling, and you can see it's starting to mature into something that looks like more of a mature tree. My yew tree here is doing well. I repotted it this year and lots of good growth on it. Behind that is the willow, the big willow from Josh, and you know, it's just growing. These willows, each of them take 2 liters of water per day. They just suck it up. Then on this bench I have another Moreton Bay Ficus cutting. You can see how small the leaves are on it. I have a pomegranate. This is Zinn's one. It's doing quite well. I've got my silver maples behind there. They're starting to thicken up. And again, these had a bit of a rough summer. We had that really hot, long heat spell followed by a really cold spell, and the maples didn't really like that too much. I've got a corkbark, or not a corkbark, a holly oak. This is also from Dave from Blue Sky Bonsai. It's growing really well. There's a Rose of Sharon behind it. It's looking good. Just a small little seedling. I've got my windswept Scots pine in the pot that Shani made. Looking really healthy, doing well. Here's my Emmer maple. So this leafed out really early in the greenhouse. I brought it outside. We had a cool night. It got all its fall colors, and then it started to regrow again. So it's kind of having its second summer now. Starting to grow, looks good. Ficus microcarpa cutting, a hop hornbeam there. One of the 3 seedlings survived. My bougainvillea here, it's not doing well, but there is a shoot that came out from the base. I kept it cool over the winter, and I think too cool. Behind that is the sugar maples, and they're thickening up really well. These leaf cutter wasps have hacked all the leaves up. So it's not looking so good, but it's doing well. Here's my Osage orange forest. Looking nice. And behind that is my wild thing, my Thuja occidentalis cascade. It's also looking really good. The trunk's thickening up. It's getting some nice upright branch structure. I want them to grow upwards, the branches. Doing well. So now we can head into the poly house, where it's mostly succulents. So over here I have these tricolor jades. These were all cuttings except for the one, and they're all doing well. I planted a bunch of seeds. Many years ago, people were sending me a lot of seeds, and I kept collecting them, and then I thought, I'm just going to throw all the seeds in a few pots, see what comes up. So I got, I don't know if these are pines or spruce. I think they're pines. And I think those are Kentucky coffee trees. Over here, I don't know what these are. So a few new trees on the go. My aloes growing in the Mars soil are doing okay. They're a little scorched. Everything in the polyhouse here sees pretty intense heat. There's not a lot of air circulation, and it gets really, really hot in here. So it's a little too hot at this time of the year in the summer, but yeah. So here's a lot of my Portulacaria afras. So this is the light leaf color one, or kind of not light leaf, but maybe yeah, I guess a light leaf color. Here are some cuttings off of my Portulacaria afra forest, the Baobab style forest. I just grew some cuttings as backups. Here's the Frank Yi corkbark Portulacaria afra cuttings. 2 of them survived and are growing really well. I've got a date palm down here. I've got my jade forest that I'm restoring. I planted a lot of new cuttings. A lot of them all died except for the main tree in the forest. So yeah, a lot of cuttings growing and restoring that forest. I've got my aloe forest back here, the tiger aloe forest in the Sarah Rayner pot. They're growing really well. I've got my Christmas cactus cutting here. It's doing well. The Sheffield jade, or the one from Scott Winard, Let's Do Bonsai. It's growing well. And I've got my variegated Portulacaria afra cuttings back here. I haven't done anything with these cuttings yet. I'll have to have a succulent Sunday and repot them and trim them up. Here is my Socotra Island planting. All the desert rose died except for 2, and a lot of the plants died except for these rat-tailed jades and my aloe here. So I've got to restore this forest. I've got those other desert rose, so that'll be a project to work on. I got a bit of rot on this main tree, so I kind of just let it dry out, and the rest of it's healthy. It's just this one section. My old jade from Connor, the cutting that I'm also growing in a Baobab style, the one with a rough bark on it, it's doing really well, looking really healthy. My aloe bonsai here, also looking really good. And you can see, because of the intense heat and light, the leaves are quite a light color, and that just happens in, you know, a high light and high temperature environment. Over here I have my euphorbia, my crown of thorns. It's looking really, really good. And then I have all my mini bonsai here. And they shouldn't be in the greenhouse here, but I have them in here. You can see some of the leaves are a bit light colored. This lace bark, or lace leaf maple has grown like crazy. I've already pruned it once. Yeah, everything's doing really well in here. My aloe here, another tiger aloe, is in flower. My jade's doing well. This jade's doing well. My Queensland bottle tree, the bottle's getting bigger. And some more succulent plants in little pots there. Here's my other crown of thorns, the larger leaf one. I pruned the top off and it didn't really grow branches, but it grew them from down below. So I've got kind of a clump style now, which I think will look really good in the future. If you imagine that top off, it'd make a nice accent plant. And I've got my Gollum Jade forest here, and this is the one I roughed up the bark on. I gouged it with the scissors, and it's looking really good. It's recovered, healing over. Yeah, it's going to look really good in the future, that one. On this bench I have a lot of trident maple cuttings off my other trident maple that have grown really tall, looking good, and there's a juniper cutting in here. That's about all that survived from the cuttings. There might be something else here. I don't know if that's a weed or a plant. Here's my white ash that I repotted this year and gave it a severe root pruning. It's doing really well, growing nicely. Here is my rubber tree forest. I'll show you it from the other side, and my clump style here too. So here's the rubber tree forest. It's doing quite well, looking good, nice and colorful. And the clump is doing quite well also, growing quite well. And now we're over to the side bench here. I've got my Virginia creeper. It's doing well. It's sprouted out from the base, so I may cut it back and just keep it as a mini accent plant. I've got a willow from seed here that's doing okay. I got my black willow growing well here. Another weeping willow from Josh back there. I've got my bog forest, my northern bog forest here. It's I gave it quite a pruning, and all the growing tips seem to have survived. There's a lot of kind of dead needles in here, so I think by fall that'll fill out again. And it's looking quite good. I have a native white pine behind here that I collected long ago, and it's just gone all wrong. It's everything I want to grow dies off, and everywhere where I don't want it to grow, it grows. So I've just kind of left it this year. I'm just going to let it do its own thing for a while, and then tackle the styling again in the future. Hey, here's my Baobab style Portulacaria afroforest. I left this side of the tree to grow, and it's doing well. All the other ones have new shoots coming out on them. I've got a grass accent plant here got these grasses from David. Here is my lychee tree from Zen. It's doing really well. And here's my Thuya forest, my Avatar Grove. It's doing very well, looking good. Everything's filled out. I gave this a pruning with the blue scissors into a conical form, all the trees, and now you can see they've all filled out. Here's the two larches I pruned up recently, getting them to a conical form, and they're doing well. Here's my larch forest. I haven't done a lot of work on the larch forest this year. I did a lot of work on it last summer, getting it ready for the fall show, and it was looking good in fall. This year I'm just kind of getting the vigor in the trees, just letting them kind of grow. I'm not like removing any needles or thinning them much. Kind of a recovery year, because I'm going to be repotting it into the large pot, adding these trees to the forest. So a big makeover coming for that forest, so I want them nice and strong for that operation. Here's my fiddle leaf fig. It's coming back into leaf finally after defoliating it in spring. It took a long time for the leaves to come back out, but now they're out and it's growing. Another grass planting here. Here's my Ficus plain. It's getting, canopy's growing really well on it. I haven't done anything to it this year, I'm just letting it grow. Behind that is my Royal Oaks, or English Oaks. I repotted them this year, removing all the remains of the tap roots on them. And you can see it's growing, and it's still growing really, really strong. There's my Ficus rumphii that I defoliated and pruned up, and there's new buds coming out all over it, which is good. And here's my willow leaf ficus. I gave that quite a pruning, and you can see it's starting to fill out once again. I'm hoping this looks really good for the fall shows. Behind that is my Austrian pine. It's looking good. I repotted it this year. I've got these 2 long leaders, sacrifice leaders on here that I'll be pruning off someday to try and smooth out the trunk on it. And then I've got my hibiscus that I got from Zinn here. It's looking good. My bird's nest spruce is looking good. There's some buds popping out on it, the second growth of the year. And here's my juniper, that was one of the challenge tree junipers. I think it was it $15 or $20 challenge. Just letting that grow. Here's my juniper from Joey. It's just growing also after its pruning. And I have my thuja trees here, the root over rock, that I'm also just letting grow and gain vigor, and then I'll be pruning those back. In the corner here is my $50 challenge juniper. I wasn't happy with the structure of it, but you can see how vigorous the growth is on it. It's just really filled out since I pruned it. So once it fills out, I'll be doing another pruning, and eventually I'll get a really nice structure on the tree. Here's my trident maple. It got pruned up recently. It's doing well. It's looking very tree-like. I've got the tiger bark ficus from the workshop back here. It's starting to grow nicely. My Norway maple, it's growing. It's not real vigorous. It's not real weak. It's somewhere in the middle. It's not looking the greatest, but we'll try again next year. Here's my Ficus religiosa. I've got to repot this before it goes in fall. I think a bigger pot will help it. And you can see it doesn't like this full sun out here. It's a bit scorched, but I keep it well watered. It should do all right. Here's my Thuja occidentalis, the cathedral style that I'm growing. So I've just been letting it grow this year. It shed all its rough bark and it's down to smooth bark now. That just happened all by itself. It's doing well. Behind that is my ponytail palm. It just keeps getting bigger. I'm going to chop the top branches maybe this summer and try and grow some more ramification in the canopy on it. And here's my acacia forest. I pruned those recently. They're doing quite well. Here's the thuja I got from Connor. I repotted it this year into a bonsai pot. It's doing quite well. And here is my lemon tree, my oldest one. It's looking good. Beside that is my grapefruit tree. It's also doing quite well. And behind that is my donated lemon tree that I've been working on, and it's doing well also. They're a little light, the leaf color, but not too bad. Here's my wisteria. It's looking good. I pruned it recently. There's new buds forming on it. I hope it starts growing again soon. I've got my 4 Thuja occidentalis. When I took apart that forest, the elephant penjing, I planted them in these pots and they're all doing well. And here's my cascade lemon tree. It's looking really nice. I might even put that in the fall shows. Here's my privet, Chinese privet. It's doing well. And here is my nightshade vine. It's flowering again. I gave that a prune. It's really filled out the canopy. It's looking really nice. Really nice. I'm really happy with it as a bonsai. Beside that is my tamarind tree. Doing okay, nothing spectacular on it yet. Beside that is my acacia, my monkey thorn, I think. The one with the really fine leaves. Or is that sweet thorn? Monkey thorn, I think. Or feather acacia, they call it. I've got some crab apples growing here. They're doing all right. Here's my mesquite trees. I pruned those back, hard pruned them back to just trunks, and they leafed out quite nicely again. And here's my silk floss tree. It needs repotting, but I'm keeping it well watered. I pruned the tops off it, and it's doing well. And here's the new Dwarf Hinoki Cypress from Eric and Emma. Haven't done anything with that yet. Here's my cherry tree, doing quite well. My Russian olive here is doing well. Here is my Scots pine, root over rock. It's grown very upright now. It used to be kind of cascading this branch, and this year it all went upright. So it's looking good. It's very interesting, the trunk and the root base on it. Beside that is my black locust. It's doing quite well. Beside that is my mulberry, doing well also. Here's my little cedar spirit tree, root over rock. It's just been growing this summer. It's looking really healthy. Beside that is my witch's tree, and again a root over rock, and the roots are really thickening up at the base here. It's looking quite cool, and that's just been growing this summer also. Here is my spruce I got from Bruce's spruce. So it was quite weak. I repotted it in this pond basket in spring, and now there's strong buds all over it, so it's going to grow well next year. Here's my dwarf Alberta spruce, looking really healthy, looking really good. Beside that is my orange tree. Really strong growth this year. It's doing really well. You can see the thick new shoots growing up here. I've got another wild thuja down here. Haven't done anything with that yet. Another red maple here. Another spruce with exposed roots. Here's my poplar trees. I've been letting them grow, cutting them back, letting them grow, cutting them back, and they're coming along. It's getting a woody structure to them. In this pot there's some birch and poplars, I think, and some red maples. There's another backyard American elm here. It's doing all right. A thuja here, a couple of them. And my ginkgo from seed here, doing all right also. They struggle a bit. They're in the hot sun here. And yeah, in the midsummer it's a bit intense for them, I think. Here's my Japanese black pine. I cut the top off and you can see all the new branches on it now, so it's doing really well. It's doing what I wanted it to do, which is good. It's getting a good root base on it. Here's my Chinese elm from the workshop. I pruned that recently and it's all growing in again. Here is my thuja, the one that used to have the forest around it, and I separated it so it's just by itself now. It's looking really good. It's growing nicely now. Happy with it. Here is the variegated Ficus benjamina from Zinn's. Kind of a clump style. It's doing well. Here are my seedlings, thuja seedlings from Rattlesnake Point. I just threw all the pine cones or the thuja cones in this pot, and they sprouted up, so it's quite a dense little planting. Here's my oldest bonsai that's been in a pot for almost 60 years now. I repotted it in spring and it was slow recovering, but now there's new shoots coming out all over it, so it needs, next year will be the time to style it once it's strong. This year it's just been kind of a recovery year, but that'll be a nice tree in the future. Here's a English oak that I got from Matt. It might be a pyramidal oak, I'm not sure, but very small leaves, and it's growing really nicely. Behind that is my black maple, native maple. It's doing well. I've got Siberian elms over here that are growing okay. Not super strong, but doing well. Here's my mimosa silk tree. It's growing really well. And over here is my drawing a blank here. Dawn redwood. So it was just a small tree in spring, and it's really, I put it in this pot thinking this pot's a good size, and it's outgrown the pot. It's just doing really well. Beside that is my bald cypress. I was trying to think swamp cypress. Bald cypress, and it's growing really tall. Doing well. And behind that is my sycamore forest, also growing with a ton of vigor. These were from seeds grown by me. So that was a complete tour of all my trees I have on the go. So I have quite a mix of very young trees, a few older mature trees that are showable, and a lot that are kind of in between that hopefully by the end of my lifetime I'll have some nice show trees. But I enjoy the whole process of growing bonsai, from seeds, cuttings, collected, everything. So I have a wide range of both species and sizes and varieties and styles, and so it keeps the hobby very interesting. I'll show you an update to the kittens now. Here is an update to the kittens. There's two little rascals here. Hello. Hello. That's the camera. Hi, how are you doing? Little rascals, there's the third one. So we've given one kitten away already. And there's 3 to go. They're getting a little bigger. They're still very, very playful. Stay away from my pots there, kittens. Oh my goodness. Oh, hi. Did you want some petting? Yeah. You guys have been playing in the mud, I think. Hi. What are you doing? That's a real close-up there. That's a real close-up, yeah. Hello. Hey. There's one getting your tail there. You getting that tail, eh? Oh, you want to sleep on me. You're purring. Oh my goodness. Eh? Yeah. Oh, you're a cute one. There's Mama Cat sleeping over there. Trying to, when these kittens aren't bothering her. Hello. Hey. Oh. You're a cute one. Yeah. No, don't touch the camera. It's not a play toy. Right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, you guys have a good little sleep. You were just fed. Now it's sleeping time. Time to bug Mama. There's one over here. He's sleeping on top of one of the pots. Or it will be, I think. Looks pretty sleepy. They were playing all morning. They just got fed. Now they're all going to nap, I think. They're bugging Mama. Here comes the one. Hi. Come here, kitty. Kitty. Kitty, kitty, kitty. Come here. Come on. Come on, kitty. You do. Hey. You still got some play in you? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Still got a bit of play left in you. Hey? Oh, and some licking. Oh, you're a nice kitty. I'll get your belly. I'll get your belly. Oh, cutie, eh? Yeah. Yeah, I think you're ready for a sleep too. Eh? I think you're ready to go to sleep. Let's go see what Mama's doing over here. Come on. Must be nursing time. Eh? Must still be nursing time. Yeah. They still get their milkies. Here, you go get some milkies over there. There they are. Sucky cats. Okay, well, you guys have a good sleep today. After the big play this morning, the kittens are all sleeping. Have a good sleep, everyone. So that was a look at the kittens today. They're getting a little bigger, they're very playful, and they're still very, very cute. The only other thing I have on the go, I've ordered a stainless steel exhaust system for the Cube. I've got part of it in already. I'll show you when I get the complete exhaust system what it looks like. And then I have, it's going to be installed, I think, on the 20th of August. And I hope all that goes well. It'll be a challenge because I hear these stock systems, these stainless steel systems you order, don't fit very well. So this is a custom fabricator that specializes in stainless steel exhausts that'll be installing it, so they may have to bend up some pipes. And so I've ordered both the resonator and the exhaust system. I think it's a K2 exhaust system. So it won't be real loud, but it'll be hopefully a bit sporty sounding. And it's a system that should last the life of the car. It's all stainless steel. So we'll see how that goes. I'll show you the complete exhaust system once I've got all the parts here, and I'll hopefully be able to film the installation, and you'll hear the before sound and the after sound and what it looks like. So lots on the go. And that is it for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.